The one thing that kind of defines you is never giving up. Thank you for talking to BW Business World.
So American dream is very straightforward. It's not a shame that you started a company and failed. You put in your best. You're all in. If you're not, you're going to fail. Indian nation is a wonderful, noble experiment.
Good day. We are in 2026. We last week celebrated Startup India, the rise of entrepreneurship in India. Every young Indian has a dream. He or she wants to be an entrepreneur, wants to make an impact, wants to create wealth. And for some of them, the only way to do both create an impact and create wealth is through entrepreneurship. Today, we are going to talk to somebody who has created a huge impact, who's also a poster boy for entrepreneurs, especially Indian Americans who made it in the US, in the Silicon Valley. We are talking of none other than Kanwal Rekhi, who is the first Indian American entrepreneur to take a funded company through a listing, create wealth, and then subsequently give back to the society by setting up TIE and investing in many companies. Today we are talking to Mr. Kanwal Rekhi because his book, The Groundbreaker, is just out, and it's a great read. It's about resilience, if I had to say. It's about never giving up, and it's very, very honest, authentic account of his own life. And today we are talking to Mr. Rekhi. Thank you for talking to BW Business World.
Well, thank you, Annurag.
Pleasure is all mine. First of all, let me start by asking you, why did you call it the groundbreaker?
Well, so so that wasn't the name that I came up with. That was the name Ben. See, once you have a book, then you have to have a marketing plan. The publishers got involved, and so there were several names, and this name got voted as number one. I was happy to see the name. It captures the essence of what happened, in my life, right?
You're a pioneer, you're a groundbreaker.
I done better every step of the way.
Fantastic. Now, for a person who had phobia of public speaking, you took a course, and now you're all over the last few years speaking at public forums, giving interviews. First of all, let me ask you, how did you get over that? And is there a playbook to getting over your fear of speaking in public places?
First of all, you have to acknowledge that you have issues. I had a speech impediment. I was shy. And then you say, well, am I happy being that way? And the answer is no. Then you say, what are you going to do about it? I have learned over the years that you have to own your shortcomings, and they're part of you. They're part of you, so you cannot be ashamed of yourself, right? And then what do I need to do? And it was very easy. I need a speech therapy. So there was a music teacher, and she worked on people like me to improve their speeches. And it turns out this is a very big business in America. Foreigners strum, they have accents, they speak English, but nobody understands them. So then very quickly realize, this is not a problem that I have. This is a problem that people have, and there is a solution.
Fantastic. And also, the more you do it, the better you get. It's like cycling, swimming.
Anything you work at it, you can improve. You're coming back to the feedback was pretty immediate. When my speech improved, feedback was very immediate. And all of a sudden, I realized that I didn't have to repeat myself.
Fantastic. Now let me get to you represent the American dream. Here is an Indian boy who goes to Michigan, studies in a university, works in a company, starts a company with two friends, and the company is many days away from bankruptcy. The investors tell you no more money is going to be given to you, and then you turn around the company, get the revenues, list it on the stock exchange, and rest, as they say, is history. Uh, how do you define the American dream? You've lived one.
So American dream is very straightforward. You work hard, you put your mind to it, you play by the rules, and eventually you will succeed. Nobody's going to help you, and nobody's going to pull you down. It's all up to you. That's the essence of American dream, and that's what I did. So talking about startup, Indians well, just to give you a little bit of a context, when we arrived in in America in 1967, when my generation arrived, the brand India was very simple: a land of snake charmers and land of beggars, right? In 1966, we had the famine. There was this notion that, hey, you guys cannot even feed yourself. So when America did open up, they welcomed us. We went, but the image was very poor. They didn't expect much of us. And they didn't. You're from third world country. Your education probably is not up to snuff. You guys are not very smart anyway. So that was the image, and the environment. I'm from IIT. We think we are the best of the best, but you can't tell them that. Nobody listens to you. Sure, yeah. So eventually, you have to prove. So our generation, kept their head low, did well at schools, universities, slowly but steadily, we gained, recognition. These guys are special, they're smart, they know their stuff. But it turns out, that image also was flawed. Oh, these guys are sharp, but single-dimensional. They are good in math, they're good in science, they're good in things, but no more. This notion that they are smart all-arounders. Can you just manage? Can you just sell? Can you just be a leader? Can you be a general manager? And the answer was, not really. So we were like, black people. They have a athletic gene. They are good at sports. The Indians have a mathematical gene. They are good in math.
And you say in the book, having low expectations sometimes a good thing.
Low expectations are very liberating, because now it frees you up. They are not expecting much from you. So if you fail, you don't disappoint anybody. But if you succeed, you surprise a lot of people.
Or delight in some case. So let me ask you, and I want a candid view. You're known to be candid. Uh, uh, in the last 12 months, America has become a different place. The American policy seems to have changed in a very visible way. Is the American dream over for a lot of people?
I don't know, when you say a lot of people, if you mean for Indians or American?
Even Indians, of course, I'm talking of immigrants. Indians,
A couple of things, right? America has always had love-hate relationship with immigrants. In 20s, there was the Asiatic Exclusion Act, where they banned immigration from Asia. There is Chinese Exclusion Act in 1880s. Go back further, Benjamin Franklin didn't want German immigrants in America. English, Anglo-Saxon, Germans he thought had a smell, had a funny language. 1850s, the Irish Americans were hated. There has always been an issue. But America has 1/3 of its population for either for foreign-born or the children of foreign-born parents, right? 1/3, But the history says if any time the foreigners, the immigrants, go beyond 15% of the population, there is a backlash. That has happened several times. And right now, I think the number of immigrants is close to 18%. So there is a backlash. But at the same time, America cannot do without immigrants. America gets renewed by this new wave after wave after wave. It'll be a matter of time. It'll be a matter of time things will change. Our generation was lucky. Americans felt they are falling behind Soviet Union. Sputnik is up. Americans haven't put a satellite up yet, right? So they are falling behind in space. And first of all, it was shock to them. The Russians were able to beat them into space because they thought they were way ahead of Russia. But at the same time, they were afraid if they can put an atom bomb in space, they will have this sword overhead all the time. So there was a fear that they can't let that happen. So they fundamentally changed those laws from 20s. Opened up to everybody. Anybody who has a science, engineering and science degree, please come. It doesn't matter where are you from. So the doors opened just when I was graduating. And for us people like me, who are coming out of IITs and have no prospect of jobs in India, no prospect of a technical design engineering jobs. Planning Commission set up the IITs, but for that to provide jobs for them. So we went. America says come, and we went, and we made the best of that situation. I don't believe the world is same. You can live your American dream in India now. Go to Hyderabad, go to Bangalore. You can do the latest work that you did. You have to go to America. Is happening here. Global capability centers have been set up in India. As American door is closing for a while, Indian door has opened wide. Opportunities here. You can work for IBM, you can work for Google, you can work for Microsoft here.
What about entrepreneurship? You set up TIE in a sense to give back and to create more entrepreneurs, to create more social impact. What do you feel about this euphoria about entrepreneurship in India?
It's not euphoria, it's real. It's absolutely real. We have 200,000 startups. Officially listed 200,000 startups. I bet your number is a lot more than that. When I was growing up in India, the notion of entrepreneurship
Was alien.
Yeah, of course, we had Tatas and Birlas. They were entrepreneurs 100 years ago, right? Around 150 years ago. But India, this is the tragedy of India. India chose to be socialist. So maybe let me add a little bit of context here, and then we can. In 1800, when the British came to Delhi, took over India, India was the #1 economy in the world. We were the most entrepreneurial, most creative, most productive economy in the world. By the time they left in 1947, they had reduced us down to beggars, like the image. India was only 2% of the world's GDP. It was 25% in 1800, down to 2%. But the tragedy of India is not that. The tragedy of India is we chose to be socialist. From 1947 to 1991, our share of the world economy went from 2% to 1%. Because we chose to be socialist, didn't put faith in our people, didn't empower, encourage our entrepreneurship. And that's when, that's what socialism does, right? I talked about in the book, the entrepreneurship is a personal declaration of freedom. I am good and I'm going to prove it to you. I talked about, it's you set out to achieve your full potential. When the government tells you, you can't do this and you can't do that without license, without permit, they are taking away your freedoms, right? They are taking away your freedoms. And so Indian dream is very well now. The startup India happened 10 years ago, and like you said in your introduction, is every mother's, every person's dream. Even now, the middle class, ethos are very straightforward. No mother says, "Beta entrepreneur bano." Even now, "Beta engineer bano, beta doctor bano, beta discipline ho jao, beta settled ho jao." But this other avenue has opened. Enough people are emerging and creating job and wealth, and then Yeah, why can't I be one of them? And so my book raises that question over and over. Why not? Why can't I be? And I tell them, yes, you can too. But you have to try. Yeah.
And you say right up front and that you only fail when you give up. You talk of resilience throughout the book and being at it. Give a sense of, you know, if when I read the book, I said the one thing that kind of defines you is never giving up, being resilient.
You giving up is is not a good option. I also say in the book, failure is not end all. Failure is a data point. One more data point in your life. When you learn to ride bicycle, how many times you fall before you learn to ride bicycle? Same thing about being an entrepreneur. You learn to fall a couple of times. It's not a shame that you started a company and failed. It would be a shame that you didn't even try. That's the other way I put it. It's a shame that you didn't even try. You gave up before you even found. Nobody will tell you, has a right to tell you to become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is putting yourself through hardship. 2, 3, 4, 5 years of absolute concentration. I use the word tapasya. You go out to jungle and do your tapasya. Nobody has a right to tell you that don't do your tapasya. It has to come from inside, right? And that's the message I give. You have to discover for yourself you're good. You can make it happen. And if you didn't make it happen, it's fine. But you have to find out the hard way.
Now, let me flip this. And you started this company with two co-founders. You had a co-founder who was the CEO and running the company, but you were not selling your product well, not selling enough. And one day your co-founder got fired, and the board or the investors made you the CEO. And then you asked some set of questions. Who have we built the product for? Is our product better? And the answer was the product is better. So why is not selling? You got into the price and you reduced the price, and suddenly the company became valuable. So give us a sense of how does one turn around the company? Is it a fluke? Is it luck, chance? What is it?
So, by the way, so there were three founders. I was it was my idea. It was my plan. My IIT Bombay I did my masters. I have speech defect. Not very confident even at that stage. Dr. Indra Mohan Singh, my co-founder, who was the CEO, IIT Kharagpur, PhD at Yale, but he had gone to Doon School. And he came from a near royal family, Zamindars, Setidars, very polished, very poised person. Very presentable. So we made him a CEO. And the third person, Dr. Naveen Jain, he was from here in Delhi in Chandni Chowk, PhD, gold medalist from BITS Pilani, and a PhD from CMU. The team was very good. Products were very good. I was supposed to design all the hardware, manufacture all the hardware. Naveen was writing software. Inder was supposed to raise money and do the sales and marketing. But Inder turned out to be Nawab Saab. He sat in his office, wasn't out there. I'm working 14 hours a day. He's working 6 hours a day. So when the product got done and nobody's buying, and things are not happening, Inder wasn't sure your product will get done. He wasn't sure. He's very good, and he didn't know how to sell and market anyway. So all of a sudden, we're not selling. We are burning money, and both fired him. And so when I took over, first thing I asked, why aren't they buying? Is there no need for the product? Market doesn't need it. The answer was no. Everybody should need it. Is there competition? That has a better product, but there's no competition which has our products priced right. They are very reasonably priced. Why are they buying? Then I asked, do they know we have it? And everybody looked around. He says, we don't know. And I says, yeah, maybe we should advertise. We don't have much money in the bank. We have like 7-8 months worth of cash. I said, we don't spend cash to advertise. Everybody looks at it and says, that will reduce our runway. I said, instead of living 8 months, we'll live 6 months. What's the difference? If you don't die in 8 months, we might as well die in 6 months fighting. And so I used 25% of our cash to start advertising. I didn't reduce the price on the product. There was this other product that Inder's favorite. We were sitting there and not selling, and had $1 million worth of inventory tied up. And I reduced the price on that and cleared that one up to produce more cash, so I could invest in our business. Once we started to advertise, products started to sell. And then there's another thing, then I realized that a technology products need a technology engineers to sell. So I made some more changes. Products sold very well. And as a matter of fact, I raised prices on software 100-fold. 100-fold. Because the value, I started to compare, the value we are delivering was much more than the price we were charging. So when I started to become the sales and marketing guy, I started to see what the other people are doing. Why am I pricing my software at $60 when the other guys are pricing their software at $10,000? So I raised the prices. So the company started to sell at higher prices and became very profitable very quickly.
Fantastic. So, as I said, what do you attribute this to? Luck, chance, serendipity, bold moves?
All of that is true, but also I went back to what I learned at IIT, the first principles. Why aren't we selling? There's need or not. So once you start to ask those questions, then you have to answer. So there was a fear of God that we'll be out of business, we'll be ashamed of it, and I'll have to get a job, and we'll be proven to be no good. So there's a fear. So so let me tell you, the fear is the biggest motivator in life. Fear of failure, fear of not being able to feed your children is much bigger motivator than a bonus. A fear of being proven wrong, proven you're not that sharp. You have pretty eyes. You think you are entrepreneurs. So fear, it drives you as much as anything else. And I wasn't going to let myself become a failure.
Fantastic. Now let me. You said the name Groundbreaker came because the research you did, and it was a name that kind of everyone liked, and it's the right name. Now, who is this book for? Is it for entrepreneurs? Is it for intrapreneurs who are looking to become entrepreneurs? Or is it let's say, a motivational book?
So by the way, the book is written because my son, who was sort of thinking of doing a documentary on me. And then he was doing a lot of research. He was disturbing a lot of material on the internet on me. And one day he said, "Dad, you need to tell your story. You need to tell your story. There's so much material on the things, and it doesn't have a cohesive thing." And so he was after me. And so initially I sat down to tell a story of
Your
life. So the book came out very bland. One of those chest thumping story. I'm great, and I did this. And who did I write this for? I wrote it for myself. To feel good. And we sat down, sat in a time. So I defined who's my audience. So I defined two audiences. One audience is the broader American public, who are wondering where did these Indians come from overnight in America, becoming CEOs, and how come India, the land of snake charmers and beggars, is becoming IT powerhouse. So I said, I need to tell them, the story of that, and then that second audience was my natural audience, the entrepreneurs. So the book is a blend of those two needs, and it turns out the same story works for both of those things. So this book was a third rewrite. So it took me 3 years to read from start to finish. First was sort of bland. Second was slightly better, but it was sort of wasn't flowing. So I changed the way we wrote. We, instead of having a narrative, we have stories. And the stories flow from one to the other, right? And each story has a moral, and so once this thing, third thing came out, I sent it to about maybe 15-20 people. I sent it to Narayana Murthy here. I sent it to Uday Desai, who was the director of IIT Hyderabad. I sent it to people, just to get a temperature, and the feedback was very quickly 2 thumbs up. Yeah, this reads really well. So we spent some time polishing it up, and
So now that the book is out, let me dwell into the book. The book has 25 chapters. Of course, they divided into sections. The first part is the first principle. Then the second part is survive, then thrive. The third part is the making of a CEO. Fourth is going public. Fifth is the gospel of entrepreneurism. And the last is why not you? Now, this is 25 chapters. Which section is your favorite? Which chapter is your favorite?
Well, every chapter is my favorite. Okay. Because we wrote it, right? And there is a method to that madness. Transformation from being one to the other is the net essence of becoming an entrepreneur. You become an entrepreneur by transforming yourself. In my case, I'm a very good engineer. But I'm an engineer. For me to become an entrepreneur, I have to be more than an engineer. And so there's this chapter on making up a CEO. One day I'm VP of engineering, top-notch engineer, and all of a sudden they say, "You are the CEO," and your job description changes. Instead of designing, now you have to make everything work, and you have to be able to sell, market, manage money, do your calculations, on money. You have to have the whole package. And I write in the book, that being a CEO, a business is like a chain. You're as strong as the weakest link. If your sales are weak, if your marketing is weak, so every link has to be strong. So you have the CEO's job is to make sure that every link is getting strong. I knew the engineering side was very good because I was leading it. It was the best that we could have done. But I quickly discovered sales and marketing links were very, very weak. So all my energy went there. But I had to keep track on every dollar we had. Every dollar had to be put to good use. And I was counting the days. There's a chapter on myself coming to Chicago in 1968 with $10. And that, my first night at the YMCA in Chicago cost me $4 to stay there. And I said, $10, $4 a night. I can live in Chicago one more day, and then I'm out of money. So my first job is to make sure that I have more than $6 at the end of the first day. I went out and did the dishes. Right after I got out of the bus, I go to YMCA, I check in, I step out. 100 yards later, there's a restaurant. They say, help wanted. I went in there, did dishes for 8 hours, came back. They gave me $10 in cash, and I had a meal, and they gave me some donuts for breakfast. All of a sudden, I have $16. I have my tummy full. Now I can live in Chicago for four more nights. So instead of, so I used to count how many days I can survive if I didn't make one more dollar. And so my goal every day was, I want to live more days than I did that day. So when I left Chicago that summer, I had $2,000 in my pocket. That was enough money for a whole year. But so when I became a CEO, I used to count how many days I can survive if we didn't make any sale. And might set the same goal. I want to be able to make, within 3 to 4 months, we were making more money than we were spending.
Brilliant. Now, when you write books, it is also a very cathartic journey. Give me a sense of new facets that you discovered, stories that you rediscovered that you'd forgotten while writing the book.
Yeah. So there was enough material. There was enough material because I had been writing blogs on the internet. That Ben had collected, my son had collected. My daughter was old enough to remember a lot of things. My wife was, even though she had cancer, she had memories. So there was this. I'm not a writer, so we had a professional help. Ben had brought a ghostwriter to help me, who organized the whole material, and he and I would have 2-3 hours of session, and in those sessions, as I'm telling him this memory is surfacing from here, and then I go back, and recount for him. So he was very good. He was taping, and then he will go write a chapter and come back, and then 2 hours will collaborate to polish it up. So the reason this is stories, because that's how the session turned out. And so once we got our flow, and then we had to go back and move this in around a little bit from here to there. But we got our structure, and there are more things I could have put in the book. I was in Bangalore yesterday, a day before yesterday. I went to this place, think tank called Tatshila. Tatshila is a think tank, a liberal think tank about civil rights, free markets, entrepreneurship, and geopolitics. And I walked in there, and the president says, "Thank you for making Tatshila possible." I said, "I never heard of you guys." "What do you mean?" He said, No, you are our God. We are doing what you set out to do 25 years ago. Then he reminded me that I funded this group called Center for Civil Society in Delhi for 5 years from 1999 to 2004. That was thing set up in Delhi to promote capitalism, entrepreneurship, wealth creation, the freedom, economic freedom. All these were kids back then who went through that program, and they are carrying out my legacy. I have no mention of Center for Civil Society in the book. So these guys were upset. How come you did not mention that? That's your major contribution to India. And so that thing didn't surface in my discussion. Because that last time I was involved with them was in 2004. So now since then I have gone through and come with lots of memories, but I don't think they would add to the book. The book was pretty complete by itself. You can load up with more stuff. You can make it a bloated book. The other goal was to I don't want to have a bit thick tome, which is sits there, nobody reads it, right? This has to be breezy, easy read, impactful, right?
Brilliant. Now, since the whole book is about your journey, and your journey is about entrepreneurship, is there a playbook to entrepreneurship? If there is a young entrepreneur who has just started his or her company, by listening to you and reading your book, could do better in his or her stint of entrepreneurship, what would you say to that entrepreneur?
So let me define entrepreneurship for you. Entrepreneurship is your personal declaration of independence. I am good and I'm going to make it happen. I am going to show it to them. There's a Hindi Indian word for that. It's you doing your tapasya. You go out, spend 3 to 4 years 100% of your energy focused on that thing. So, and then you come back with the dhyan or enlightenment or whatever, right? So you do and make it happen, and the company starts to function, becomes profitable, starts to grow. And that's your process. You cannot, as an individual, do what somebody else is doing. You cannot say, I am going to do same thing as this. I want to be Uber light. I can't. You have to find your own niche. You have to innovate. You have to come up with a new way of doing things. The entrepreneurs are by nature not happy doing 5% better, 10% better. Can I do 10 times better? So I tell entrepreneurs, make sure you're not doing a Me Too product a day late. You have to do a new innovative product before anybody else does. You have to assume people as smart as you, or smarter than you, have the same or similar idea, and they're doing the same thing. And you will have the competition when you come out. You'll have to make sure your product is better than theirs. You have to put your best. There's no place for good enough.
Right.
So I tell people, you're not dabbling here. You're putting your best. You're all in. If you're not, you're going to fail.
Absolutely.
So the basic message is, nobody's asking you to do it. You chose it, and there's no reason to do anything but your best.
Right. That's sort of more philosophical. Now, you have to raise capital, you have to develop a product, you have to sell, you have to manage teams, you have to build a brand. Are there some suggestions that you'd like to make to people watching this podcast?
You have to have clarity of vision. That's where you start. You have to learn to sell before you do anything else. Being able to sell is the number one skill entrepreneurs have to have. You have to sell to yourself, to give up your job, cushy job, to go through this pain and suffering for a few years. If you're married, you have to sell to your spouse, hey, please, suffer with me. And then you have to sell to potential employees to come and work with you for substandard salary, for 2-3 years of hardship. Then you have to sell yourself to the investors to give you some cash for a half-baked idea. And then you have to sell half-baked products to customers, say, please play with this thing, I'll make them better soon. You're always selling. You have to sell to your parents. So you as an individual have to have absolute faith in what you're doing. You have selling skills and leadership skills. You are able to infect people very quickly, and there's a feedback. If nobody's giving you, nobody wants to work with you, there's a feedback. What's wrong with me? I think this idea is brilliant. Why nobody wants to work with me? If nobody's giving you money, there's a feedback. Others are getting money. Why am I not getting money? So you always come back to say, it's me who has to make a difference. If it's not working, it's me.
It's about taking responsibility.
Taking ownership of everything. You cannot be blaming others for the failure. Once you start to blame others, you absolve yourself of all the responsibilities. So you have to say, what am I doing wrong? Why aren't they buying my product? What am I doing wrong? Why am I not able to convince people to come and work with me? Why am I not able to convince VC to give me the money? So you always, and that's the point I made earlier. Then you go back and retool yourself, and then come back second time, learning to ride bike. You fell, you get up, and Steady yourself and don't do it. A typical entrepreneur in the Silicon Valley succeeds on third attempt.
My favorite author, Randy Pausch, said, "Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want." So there's nothing called failure. It's an experience which helps you become better.
Failures are learning opportunities. You learn more from your failures, and they stay with you longer. You know what you did wrong. Yeah.
Kanwal, let me now ask you. You've done it all. You set up TIE. Look at the impact of TIE. Much before formal startup help groups or incubators or accelerators, it was a community helping each other, right? What would you say when you set up TIE? Has TIE lived up to its mission? What has it accomplished and what it needs to accomplish as it gets into a new journey?
TIE has lived way beyond its mission, way beyond our initial dream. I tell people that we had a very simple role. We had a lonely journey when we started out. We had no role models, we had no mentors, and we decided to do that for people around us. Under people in Silicon Valley, we had no ambition to form an international global network. TIE was an idea whose time had come. And like Victor Hugo said, an idea whose time has come,
No one can stop.
no time to stop it. So we didn't set out to make TIE happen. We set out to tell the world, hey, become entrepreneurs. We are here to help you. We are here to mentor you. And the demand was instantaneous. So the first TIE conference, we thought we'll workshop for entrepreneurs. That was the title. We thought maybe 100 people would show up. 500 people signed up. If there were people from other cities who came to attend, and people from Boston, Southern California, can we do the same thing in Boston and Southern California? I don't see why not. This is what we're doing. This is our logo. This is our bylaws. Don't do it. 12 chapters formed like that. It was opt-in. Professor C.T. Prahlad, brilliant professor, right? Genius. He got sucked in. He said, "Can I be part of your network?" Yes, sir. Why not? Right? You are C.T. Prahlad. So he got involved. So he started to think, and he wrote that white paper, "The House of TIE." That I have published on the internet. You can find where he started to define, and he started to debate. Tell us, we need to build an organization that will outlast us. It will be driven by values, not by personalities. And that became the mantra, a values-driven organization rather than personalities-driven organization. We are not here to make Kanwal famous or Subhash Patel famous, or these are not their private sandbox. Here are the values. We know entrepreneurship is goodness by itself. We know we can improve the odds of success of people by mentoring them. So there are few values like that, and sharper focus on entrepreneurship than anything else. No cultural, no political, no religious agenda, and and it turned out to be the set of values that others liked and adopted. So TIE spreads on its own rather than we're not pushing it. Chapters are forming now. Chapter formed in Nizamabad, chapter formed recently in Visakhapatnam, chapter just formed in Surat. So you can see certain third-tier cities are starting to form chapters.
Now let me ask you, because of your role in building Indian entrepreneurs, helping them, you came to India, you met prime ministers, you met Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, you met Atal Bihari Vajpayee, you have now met
Modi.
Prime Minister Modi. Give us your impressions of each of the prime ministers.
Before that, I grew up in India in 50s, right after independence.
Nehru was the
Nehru was there, but more than Nehru, there were still freedom fighters, who had gone to jail. We won our freedom in a very innovative way. India won its freedom without picking up a sword. We out-argued the British, and so there was this afterglow of independence in 50s. That something is noble and unique. The way we became independent, we became a democracy with universal suffrage. That had never happened before. And so there was this idealism in 50s, sort of disappeared in 60s and 70s. But that's what I had. So once I succeeded as a person, we are forming Thai. I am starting to discover India and myself again. And so I'm alternately mad and proud. I'm proud India is still a democracy, still holding elections, still doing things. I'm mad India is falling behind further and further and further. So that's where I started to say, why are we falling behind? Damn, we became socialists. We are not socialists at heart. What is socialism? So I said, democracy is all about choices. Markets and entrepreneurship is all about choices. It's all about freedom. You vote for candidate A or B to rule you. Markets and entrepreneurship is, you offer product A and B and let people buy with rupees. So marketplace and entrepreneurship is a democracy. It's that same concept, right? Here we put socialism, which handful of people decide what's good for you, where should we invest. They've taken over your freedoms. And so we start, with the help of CTN, we started to reframe what Thai was doing was a second freedom movement for India. This time, economic freedom movement. And so this experience almost became a spiritual experience for us. So once you that pulled in and wrote there, I'm still young. I should go and do a net startup and make more money, but I'm starting to now say I can have a better impact on more people and get more satisfaction in life. So that's how I got pulled in. If not me, who? If not now, when? Right? And that became so it changed me as an individual, changed my life's mission. I had enough wealth to live happily ever after, so I didn't need to make any more. My wife and children are taken care of. So I had freed myself up from that need. Of course, I could made more money. I would have made more money if I had not done this part. But I feel amply rewarded, for the impact we have had. A little bit corny, right? But that's what you need. You need some amount of idealism. A handful of people. Term policy that we talked about there. Term policy has transformed India. Term policy was me talking to Prime Minister Vajpayee, and he's listening and adopting. So now, which is the best Prime Minister we ever had? So I have I don't know if I put that in the book or not. I don't remember now. But I wrote a blog. The best president we have had, I will start to define as a Narasimha Rao.
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. If he had not done what he did, we would have gone under. 2% had gone to 1%, would have gone to, we would have been a footnote on the world stage. Now we are better. Nehru was visionary. He built the institutions. He gave a parliament. He planted seeds for IITs. He was wonderful to build institutions, but he was pretty bad on the economic front. He had brought the Fabian socialism from England, and he drew inspiration from Soviet Union. And that put us on a round path to economics. Vajpayee was the next best president. Next prime minister. He built on what Narasimha had done: financial sector liberalization, aviation liberalization, Pradhan Mantri's Ram Sarak Yojana, Golden Quadrilateral, disinvestments of this and disinvestment of that, the maritime policy change. He was transformational, just like Narasimha Rao. Manmohan Singh was pretty bad, very bad. He was handed a very good situation, and he didn't improve on it at all. The others,
Why do you say?
Rajiv Gandhi was hopeless, useless. Rajiv Gandhi was really, really useless because there was a generational change. There was an opportunity to turn the ship around, and it didn't do anything.
What about Modi?
I haven't talked about Modi yet, right? So Modi has been phenomenal in many respects. I see every car has this sign in the back, Beti
Badao, Beti Pachao.
Yeah.
Educate your girl child, and that's how you save her.
So I see that everywhere. Swachh Bharat. Its transformational messaging is very good, right? And policies are decent.
Implementing.
Policies are decent. But he has this dark side of Hindutva. It's totally unnecessary. The beauty of India is India's diversity. We have spirited Punjabis like you. We have cerebral Madrasis down south. We have literary Bengalis. We have business wala Gujaratis. Indian khichdi has everything. We have Muslims, we have Hindus, we have Sikhs, we have Christians. Indian nation is a wonderful, noble experiment.
But let me say to his defense, Prime Minister Modi has never encouraged. When the elections come, sometimes the pitches get quit.
You're right. His bark is worse than his bite. So on the whole, it's good. But I'm saying divisiveness is unnecessary. It gets in the way. He pays the price in imaging and effectiveness, by even letting these people do it. He should get back and say, hey, we are proud of what India is. India is so let me give you another perspective. India is a syncretic culture. There was a Hindu period, there was a Buddhist period, there was an Islamic period, there was a British period, there was a Sikh period in Punjab, there was Maratha. There's a layer after layer after layer. We have modern India, which is a mixture of that. India without British experience and Hindu experience is Afghanistan. Afghanistan was part of India at one time. They didn't get the British and Hindu experience, and we know what happened to them. They wasted. They're going nowhere. India, we didn't have the British, and Islam is Nepal.
Let me also, Mr. Rekhi,
let me finish. It's Nepal, and we know where they are. Pakistan chose to be Hindu free, and we know where they're heading. We are where we are because we are proud of our past, and we haven't renounced. When you start to renounce any part of your past, you start to lose your soul, and that's what's happening in Pakistan and Bangladesh.
Sure, I get what you're saying, but let me say, I'm a Punjabi like you. I've been to Gurdwaras as a child. My parents took me. I've studied in a convent school, and I grew up in India where who you were didn't matter whether you're Hindu, Muslim. Let me say, the Hinduism is a very, very assimilative religion. It's a very peaceful religion. We may see versions of wearing Hinduism on the sleeve, but they are, they're isolated and they're not mainstream.
No. I am not thinking Hinduism is an intelligent man's religion. It's an intellectual religion. I'm not talking about anything about that. 75-80% of Indians are Hindus. Hindus have a right, they have a right to be proud of what they are. They have, India is the only place where both Christianity and Islam failed. Every place Christianity and Islam went, 100% of the population converted, except in India. Because we are proud of what we are. Sikhism and Hinduism are very, very compatible religions. So I'm not going there. I'm talking about the politics here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, let me change the conversation. Let me come to, you consistently said and you believed that if there's a technology invented somewhere, why should we invent it in India? We should use it, leapfrog it. However, you talk about China all the time, but China is building its own technology stack for everything. Shouldn't India be building its own thing?
Our need is to create jobs for Indians. We have 800 million people on dole. We need government feeds, supports 800 million people. What is our need? We need to make everybody self-sufficient. We need to make sure there is a job for everybody. You cannot eat IP. You cannot eat data. You can eat when you have a job. So China did what I'm proposing to do. China did not invest in technology. China did not invest in anything. They took all the American technology, all the American investment to build. And they have gone to the place now where they have no unemployment problem. They have 100% literacy. Now they're starting to compete with America. We are 1/5 the size of Chinese economy per capita. We had nuclear effort in 50s, 60s, 70s. We had the bomb exploded in 74, right? Had zero impact on India and Indians. We still have 60, 70% of the Indians living in villages who were in Stone Age. We had a ISRO forever. By all means, do that, but first thing first, how do we make sure every Indian can have a decent life, have a job, can feed his family, can educate his children? Unless you do that, everything else doesn't mean anything. You can have your own stat and doesn't mean anything. We always have a ultra modern India and the Stone Age Bharat. Can you build a modern power where half your body is healthy and half your body is not so healthy? Not so healthy part of your body will define your future.
I get the context in what you say, but these things are not either or. You can adopt and build at this.
No, I'm saying for sure adopt and build and invest in more ideas and do R&D. But for God's sake, use latest technologies, let the entrepreneurs build the future. And I don't have this in the book because this wasn't there, which we set up this thing in Nizamabad, the Kanwal Rekhi Rural Entrepreneurship Center, right? We are producing entrepreneurs who will go back to villages and third tiers and cities. And I want to talk about 2 entrepreneurs there. I don't have their name with me. We can supply you the names. One kid went to engineering school someplace and went back to his village. And very quickly realized that his village is stuck in the Stone Age. All the tools are 1,000-year-old tools. They're using the same methods to get the water out to irrigate. He started to bring technology into the village, solar stuff, light up the village homes, and he started to redesign the farm tools the village is using. And all of a sudden, the village is getting electrified. There's lights at home, and farm income started to double, triple in his village. The neighboring villages are looking at that, and they're saying, "Can you help us also?" So he set up a company to provide those farm tools to all those villages and help set up solar stuff. This 22-year-old kid in 2 years has built a business which is 5 crore in revenue and growing, doubling almost every year. And 70,000 farmers have adopted his tools, and they are moving up. Look at the impact. A kid becoming an entrepreneur, bringing latest technology to his village to solve the local problems. I'm saying that's what we should be doing on a primary basis. Yeah, secondary basis we ought to be doing some development and all that, but that should not be our primary role. There was a girl who went to IIT Bombay, got a job in Bombay, doing really well. Then very quickly realized that everybody in her office, nobody had ever been to a village in India. They're selling into villages, but none of them had ever been to a village. So she organized a tour of 12 people to take her to her village, and they all enjoyed it. And she said, oh, so she left her job and set up this business of village tourism. And she adopted 20 villages, set up a little bit hostels. Now she's bringing tourists to these villages from Japan, Germany, US, and all over India. And these villages are making more money getting to those tourists than they were making before.
Absolutely.
I'm saying they find out. That's what I think we ought to do. When I talk about 10 million entrepreneurs, that's what I mean. How do we get local youngsters to take their technology and solve the local problems using latest, latest technologies?
Let me ask you my last two questions. First, Miss Rekhi, you achieved so much, business impact, social impact, good family, policy impact, if I may say, global impact. Is there anything left in your bucket list that you want to do? I know you couldn't climb that mountain on your 80th. Yes, on your 80th birthday, but I'm sure you'll do it on your 81st.
Yeah.
Knowing you will do it, right?
Yeah. So if I die tomorrow,
God give you a long life, but
if I die tomorrow, I'll die happy. I had no expectation of myself. My achievements have been way beyond anybody, including myself, would have expected of me. So that's not the problem. But then I go back the other way. There's so much to be done.
What's on your bucket list that's not done?
Yeah. I want to see India emerge. So let me put it differently. We are number 4 large economy in the world. Pretty soon we'll be number 3. Are we happy being number 3? We were number 1 in 1800. Should we try to be number 2? Can we be number 2? Should we aspire to be number 1? Can we be number 1? And my answer to those things is, why not? I'm not saying tomorrow. I say, can we set a 50-year goal? Can we play the long game? While we are taking care of our people, we are aspiring to be number 1 economy in the world. And to that end, I see if we have 10 million entrepreneurs in India, we'll be number 1 economy in the world very quickly.
Brilliant. That's a very good goal to set. And my last question, when I read your book, you talk about your father, that he was a military man and so on and so forth. He had certain expectation. Your uncles were in the military. And it's a very personal question, right? And he was proud of the fact that you went to IIT Kharagpur.
IIT Bombay.
IIT Bombay. And, he was not kind of expecting that, right? But are you happy with your son, Ben?
So let me talk to you about my father. I'm very proud of my father. Very proud of him. Yeah. He was a teacher of a time and a place. And he achieved wonderful results, right?
I'm interrupting you, but I read the book and you said you had a faith that one day you were lost, but you knew that your father would come to get you and he got you in the Gurdwara, right? So that's the kind of faith you had in your father and what he did for all of his family and his...
The values my father had are the values I have adopted. My father used to say, a man is not happy unless all the women in his life are happy. The mother, the sister, the wife, the daughter. So you have to assume responsibility to make them happy. And I absolutely adopted that value. My mother died very, very happy at the end. My wife was very proud of me and very happy. My daughter, my sister, yeah, they are doing very well. And the other thing he used to say, your success as a person is not your success. Your success as a person is your parents' success. They gave you the education, they gave you the value, they gave you the motivation. Your success will come how well your children do, because you have a full control over their situation. You are giving them the values. You are making sure. Yeah. So yeah, I still a work in progress. I am very proud of my son. I'm very proud of my daughter. They have not followed in my footsteps of becoming engineers. I have never asked them to follow in my footsteps. I've always told them to be good human beings, learn, educate yourself, take care of things around you, and they're both doing that one. And I'm very proud of my people, son and my daughter.
And is there something called work-life balance? होता है ऐसा कुछ?
There is no such thing as a work-life balance. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. If you're having fun doing what you do, you will have a work-life balance. If you have to say my work life is different than my home life, there's something fundamentally wrong. I have never had that issue. I have never had that issue. My wife was a CEO at home. I was a CEO out there. I was making the living. She was making sure the household is running. And I told her, anytime you want any help from me, let me know. I'll drop and come. So she freed me up to do what I did. I freed up. They were the full freedom to run the household. I think work-life balance, you're living some artificial way, when you have to make special effort to do, right? Yeah.
Fantastic. I can go on talking, and hopefully we'll talk soon again. But I'm sure you enjoyed the conversation. You must read the book. It's Kanwal Rekhi's book, which is in some way based on his own life, his experiences, his learnings. It's called The Groundbreaker: Risks, Rewards, and Lessons from a Legendary Entrepreneur. I'm sure you learn a lot. Thank you for watching. And Kanwal, all the best for your book and your journey. And we'll talk to you soon when you climb your mountain on your 81st birthday.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yes.
And thank you for this wonderful conversation.